Hello, welcome. I believe God meets us anywhere. Find a comfortable spot. Let's receive rest while listening to the Word of God. And tonight's story contains a question that I think Jesus might be asking you right now, in this room, in this dark, at the end of this specific day. It is the most surprising question in the Gospels. He asked it to a man who had been sick for 38 years, lying beside a pool that was supposed to heal him, waiting for the moment the water stirred. The question was not, "Can you get well?" Not, "Are you worthy of being made well?" Not, "Have you tried hard enough?" Do you want to get well? Tonight, that question is for you. Whatever the condition is, the thing that has been present and unresolved for longer than you planned, the thing you have been circling, waiting for the right circumstances to address. Tonight, the question arrives. Find your position. Let the screen go dark. And as your body settles, let the story begin arriving. Let your eyes close, softly, without effort. Notice what you brought into this room tonight. Not the physical things, the interior things, the unresolved thing that has been present for longer than it was supposed to be. The condition you have been managing rather than addressing. The thing you are waiting for the right moment to deal with. When the circumstances improve, when the timing is better, when the right help arrives. You know what it is. Take a slow breath in. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" He saw him. He learned he had been there a long time, and he asked the question, not, "Why are you still here after 38 years?" Not, "Let me explain why the pool hasn't worked." Do you want to get well? The question that goes beneath the condition to the desire underneath it. Let your forehead smooth. Let the thinking that has been happening there all day begin to slow. The question has arrived. Let it land. "Sir," the invalid replied, "I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred." He did not say yes. He explained the mechanism, the why it hasn't happened, the absence of the help he needed. And Jesus healed him without the pool, without the help, without the mechanism. The mechanism was never the obstacle. Your shoulders now, let them fall all the way. The explanation you have been carrying, the reasons the resolution hasn't arrived, let them fall with the shoulders. Then Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your mat and walk." Get up, the instruction that requires participation, not, "I will carry you." Pick up your mat. The mat that is the evidence of the 38 years. Carry the thing that carried you, and walk. Your jaw, let it fall open. Your chest, soft. Your belly rising and falling without your supervision. Let the warmth move down through your hips, your legs, your thighs heavy and warm and still, your knees softening, your calves and ankles and feet, all the way out, all the way still. Your whole body is heavy and warm, resting, held. The question is in the room. Do you want to get well? Let the story unfold. Sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Now there is in Jerusalem near the sheep gate a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, and which is surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. Here a great number of disabled people used to lie: the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. One who was there had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," the invalid replied, "I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I am trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me." Then Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your mat, and walk." At once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and walked. The day on which this took place was a Sabbath. Later Jesus found him at the temple and said to him, "See, you are well again. Stop sinning, or something worse may happen to you." Near the sheep gate in Jerusalem there was a pool, Bethesda. The name means house of mercy, or in some translations, house of grace. The pool of mercy, surrounded by 5 covered colonnades where the sick lay waiting: the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. A great number of them, the text says. Not a handful, a great number. The community of the waiting gathered under the colonnades beside the water that was supposed to heal whoever entered it first when the surface stirred. The stirring of the water was the sign. At certain times an angel was said to come down and stir the water, and whoever entered first after the stirring was healed of whatever condition they had. The specific, difficult, completely real economy of the pool: one healing per stirring, first person in wins, everyone else waits for the next time. The mechanism of the healing was competitive. The person who could move fastest was the person most likely to be healed, and the people lying under the colonnades were the people who could not move fast. The blind and the lame and the paralyzed gathered at the edge of the healing they could not reach. The cruelty of this arrangement is not incidental. It is the specific structural cruelty that the man's situation embodies. The healing is theoretically available. The pool is right there. The mechanism exists. And the mechanism is designed in a way that systematically excludes the people who need it most. The man who cannot walk cannot be first into the pool when the water stirs. The mechanism of the healing was never going to work for him, not because he was not trying, because the mechanism was not designed for his condition. He had been there 38 years. The specificity of the number matters. The Gospel of John is precise about numbers when the precision is the point. 38 years is not a round number chosen for dramatic effect. It is a specific, verified, completely real length of time. 38 years at the pool of Bethesda, watching the water, watching the others, watching the first person in each time the surface stirred. 38 years of the mechanism failing to include him. 38 years of the community of the waiting. And Jesus came to the pool, not to the healthy, not to the people in the city who were managing their lives adequately, to the pool where the great number of the disabled lay waiting. And among the great number, he saw this man. And he knew he had been there a long time, and he asked the question, "Do you want to get well?" The question seems obvious. Of course the sick man wants to get well. He is lying beside a healing pool. He has been there 38 years. What other reason would he be there? But Jesus does not ask obvious questions. The question is not a request for information. Jesus already knows the man has been there a long time. The text says he learned this before he asked. The question is not gathering data. The question is doing something more searching than data gathering. It is going beneath the presenting condition, the paralysis, the 38 years, the lying at the pool, to the interior reality underneath. Do you want to get well? The assumption built into the question is that the answer might not be yes, not because the man is defective or faithless or lacking the will to recover, but because 38 years of a condition produces something that simple desire to be free of it cannot fully account for. 38 years of the condition is 38 years of a life organized around the condition. The routine of the pool, the community of the other waiters, the blind, the lame, the paralyzed, the specific, real, completely human relationships formed in the community of the waiting. The identity that has accumulated around the role of the person who has been sick for 38 years. The way the days are structured by the management of the condition. The way other people relate to the person they know as the one who waits at the pool. Resolution would require the dismantling of all of this, not because the man loves his condition, because the condition has become the architecture of the life, and the dismantling of the architecture, even for the purpose of building something better, is a specific, real, not to be underestimated form of loss. The person who has been organizing their life around an unresolved condition for long enough has a complicated relationship with the possibility of its resolution. Do you want to get well? The question that asks the person to examine whether what they want is the healing or the familiar structure that the condition has produced. Jesus knew this. The question is not naive. It is the most compassionate question available, the question that takes the person seriously enough to ask, rather than simply acting. The question that says, I see you. I see the 38 years. I see the complexity of what you have built around the waiting. And I am asking whether you want what I can give you. The asking is the respect. The question is the gift before the healing. Do you want to get well? The question hangs in the air over the pool and over this room, right now. Sir, the invalid replied, I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I am trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me. He did not say yes. He explained the mechanism. This is the most psychologically precise moment in the entire story, and the moment most easily passed over. Jesus asked a question about desire. The man answered a question about logistics. He did not say, yes, I want to get well. He said, here is why the getting well has not happened. Here is the mechanism I have been waiting for, and the way the mechanism has been failing me. Here is the person I have been waiting to be, and the absence of the help that would get me there. The I have no one is the loneliest sentence in the Gospels. Not only as a statement of practical difficulty, no one to carry him to the water, but as the interior reality of 38 years of the condition. I have no one. The person whose condition is of sufficient duration begins to experience the condition as a form of isolation, not because the people around them do not care, but because the condition is theirs, and the carrying of it is theirs, and the managing of the daily reality of it is theirs in a way that cannot be fully shared. I have no one. The specific, real, completely honest loneliness of the person who has been in their condition long enough to know that no one else can carry them into the healing. And while I am trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me. the always almost, the perpetual near miss, the person who has been trying genuinely, consistently, with the available effort, and who keeps watching the healing go to someone else. The someone else who is a little faster, a little better positioned, a little less impeded by the specific nature of their condition. The man at Bethesda has been watching this for 38 years, watching the water stir, trying to get in, watching someone else go first. The explanation is not an excuse. It is the honest account of someone for whom the mechanism has consistently failed. The pull was real. The stirring was real. The first person in was real. And the man was not first. 38 times, or more, or however many times the water stirred across 38 years, and every time someone else went first. But notice what the answer reveals. The man's entire frame for the healing is the pool, the mechanism, the water stirring, the first person in, the healing produced by the specific sequence of events he has been waiting for. His hope is organized entirely around this mechanism. And because the mechanism has not worked, because he cannot get into the pool before someone else, the getting well has not happened, and he has concluded that it cannot happen. He has not answered the question Jesus asked. Jesus asked about desire. The man answered about delivery, and in the gap between the question and the answer is the whole of the story, the whole of the reason Jesus asked, the whole of what the healing is about to demonstrate, the whole of what the man at Bethesda has in common with the person lying in the dark tonight. The mechanism was never the obstacle. Do you want to get well? The question is still waiting for its answer. 38 years. The number is not decoration. It is the weight of the story, the specific, verified, completely real measure of how long the man has been in his condition and how long the condition has been in him. 38 years is long enough for the condition to become the life. Not in the dramatic sense, not the person who has given up and no longer tries. This man is still trying. He is still at the pool. He is still watching the water, still positioned to make his attempt, still organized around the mechanism of the healing. But 38 years of the trying has produced a specific kind of person, a person for whom the trying and the waiting and the watching are not the prelude to the life, but the life itself. The condition has become the organizing principle around which everything else arranges. The days are structured by the condition. The relationships are formed in the community of the condition. The other people under the colonnades, the people who know him as the one who has been there 38 years. The identity is built around the condition, the story he tells about himself, the story others tell about him, the way he is known and related to and thought about. The hope is organized around the mechanism of the condition's resolution, the pool, the stirring, the first person in. All of this is the 38 years, and all of this is what the healing would require him to leave behind. Not because leaving it behind is bad, the leaving is the gift, but because the leaving is real, and the leaving is a form of loss, even when what is being left is a condition. The person who has been in the condition for 38 years is not just losing the condition when they are healed. They are losing the life that was organized around it. The community, the identity, the routine, the specific kind of hope that is organized around the mechanism rather than the desire. all of it goes when the healing comes. Jesus knows this about 38 years. The question, do you want to get well, is the question that acknowledges the weight of the 38 years. Not, why are you still here after all this time? Not, have you not tried hard enough? The question that says, I see the 38 years. I see what they have cost and what they have built and what the healing would require you to leave. Do you want what I can give you? Knowing what the receiving will require, the question honors the weight of the waiting, and it offers the way through it. I have no one to help me into the pool. 5 words that contain the specific, interior, completely real loneliness of the person in the long unresolved condition. Not the dramatic loneliness of the abandoned person. The quieter, more pervasive loneliness of the person whose condition has lasted long enough that the community around them has, naturally, understandably, without malice, moved on. The friends who rallied in the early seasons of the condition have returned to their lives. The family who visited regularly now visits less. The community that gathered for the acute crisis has dispersed. Not because they stopped caring, because the condition persisted past the season in which the community's sustained presence was available. The person in the long unresolved condition is often alone with it. Not entirely. There are still people, still relationships, still the community of the other waiters under the colonnades. But alone with the specific, interior, completely personal experience of the condition, the carrying of it that is finally theirs and not shareable. The 3 a.m. experience of the condition that no one else is awake for. The specific texture of the daily management that is invisible to the people who see them in the daylight and are glad they seem to be managing. I have no one. The sentence that names what the long condition produces in the interior, regardless of how many people are in the vicinity. I have no one. The man at Bethesda has the other people under the colonnades. He is not entirely alone, but he has no one for the specific thing he needs, no one to carry him to the water, no one whose presence at the edge of the pool would give him the advantage he needs to be first in. The loneliness is specific, not general isolation, the specific absence of the help this particular need requires. And Jesus became the someone, not the someone who carried him to the pool, the someone who rendered the pool unnecessary, the someone who did not help him into the mechanism but bypassed the mechanism entirely, the someone whose presence at the pool made the pool irrelevant. I have no one, and someone is here, the someone who does not need the pool. The someone who is not constrained by the mechanism the man had organized his hope around. The someone who stands beside the person in the condition and asks the question and heals without the pool. I have no one to help me into the pool. You have someone who does not need the pool. The someone is in this room tonight, and the question is still open. Then Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your mat and walk." No pool, no stirring of the water, no first person in, no mechanism. The healing that the man had been waiting 38 years for arrived in a completely different form from the one he had been waiting for. Not the pool, but the word. Not the water, but the command. Not the stirring, but the voice of the one who stood beside him on the stones of the colonnade. The mechanism was never the obstacle. This is the theological center of the healing. the moment that reframes everything the man has believed about why the healing has not happened. He believed it had not happened because of the pool, because of the no one to help, because of the someone always ahead, because the mechanism had been failing him. And Jesus heals him without the mechanism at all, demonstrating in the act of the healing that the mechanism was never what the healing depended on. The healing was never in the pool. The pool was the mechanism the man had organized his hope around. And organizing hope around a mechanism is a specific, human, completely understandable thing to do. The mechanism is concrete, visible, theoretically available, the kind of thing that can be waited for and positioned for and attempted. The hope organized around the mechanism feels more manageable than the hope that has no mechanism. The man knew what he was waiting for. He knew what it would look like when it happened. He could point to the pool and say, "That is the way the healing comes." And the healing came another way entirely. The ways of God are not constrained by the mechanisms we have identified as the paths of the healing. The healing can come through the pool, through the expected mechanism, the identified path, the thing we have been positioning ourselves for. And the healing can come through the word spoken by the someone who stands beside us on the stones and asks the question, and then, in response to the imperfect answer that was given, heals anyway. The mechanism was never what Jesus needed. He needed only the man to be present, and the man was present. 38 years of being present, and the word came, and the healing arrived in the form nobody was expecting, not through the pool, through the person who made the pool unnecessary. The mechanism was never the obstacle. He needed only the man to be there, and the man was there, and the word came, and the healing arrived without the pool. Get up, pick up your mat and walk. 3 instructions. Get up, the reversal of the position the condition has held him in. The man who has been horizontal, lying on the mat in the posture of the waiting, get up. The first instruction is the instruction that requires the body to do the thing the condition said it could not do. Get up is the beginning of the life that is not organized around the condition. Pick up your mat. This instruction is the one that most needs attention. Why does Jesus tell him to pick up the mat? The mat is the evidence of the 38 years, the specific piece of material that has been the man's dwelling place at the pool, the surface he has lain on through all the seasons of the waiting, the object most associated with the condition. When the man picks up his mat, he is picking up the history of the 38 years. He is not leaving it behind. He is carrying it with him into the healed life. This is the grace of the instruction. Jesus does not say, "Leave the mat, forget the 38 years, pretend the pool was not the organizing principle of your life for 3.5 decades." He says, "Pick it up. Carry the evidence of the condition into the life that the condition no longer defines." The 38 years are not erased by the healing. They are carried differently as the person who has been through them, rather than the person who is in them, into the next chapter. The mat that carried the man becomes the mat the man carries. The condition that defined the life becomes the testimony of the life. Not the current reality, but the history, the thing that was and that is no longer in the same way, carried now by a person who walks rather than lying on it beside the pool, and walk. The third instruction is the movement, the direction away from the pool and into the rest of the life. Walk, not back to the pool, not toward the mechanism that was never going to work. Away from the colonnade, away from the community of the waiting, away from the identity of the 38 years, into the Jerusalem that the man has been lying at the edge of without entering for 38 years. At once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and he walked. The story is alive in your life right now. There is a woman who has been waiting for the right circumstances to address her faith. She was raised in the church. The faith was real in her early 20s, the kind of real that organized a life, that made certain things available and others unavailable, that gave the interior its vocabulary and its direction. And then the circumstances of the 30s arrived. The demanding career, the children who needed everything, the marriage that required sustained attention, the aging parents who needed care. The faith moved from the center to the perimeter, not by a dramatic decision, by the accumulated priority of the things that were urgent. She means to return to it, has been meaning to return to it for 8 years. When the children are older, when the career settles, when there is more time, more energy, more bandwidth for the interior life that the exterior life has been squeezing for 8 years. She is at the pool. The pool is the right circumstances, the mechanism she has identified as the path back to the faith, the season of life that will finally make the return possible, the time that will become available when the current demands reduce, the energy that will return when the current expenditure decreases. The pool is right there. She is positioned beside it. She is waiting for the water to stir. Jesus stands beside her on the stones. Do you want to get well? And her answer, if she is honest, is also not simply yes. Her answer is, I have no one to help me. The circumstances aren't right. The timing isn't there. The bandwidth isn't available. When the children are older, when the career settles, the mechanism was never the obstacle. Jesus does not wait for the circumstances to become right. The healing does not require the pool. The return to the faith does not require the perfect season. It requires the word, the yes, the getting up from the mat in the middle of the imperfect season and beginning the walk. Not the pool, the desire, the yes that the do you want to get well is waiting for. Pick up your mat and walk in the imperfect season right now. There is a man who has been waiting for the relationship to repair itself. The estrangement arrived 3 years ago, the specific, accumulated, finally acute rupture of a relationship with his adult son that had been under strain for longer than 3 years before it broke. The breaking was real, and the wound on both sides was real, and the distance that opened is 3 years old now and still open. He has been waiting for the son to reach out, has been waiting for the circumstance that will provide the opening, the family occasion, the shared difficulty, the moment that will make the first contact feel less exposing. He is positioned at the pool. He knows what the mechanism looks like, the son reaching out, or the shared occasion, or the something that creates the opening. He is watching the water, waiting for the stirring. Do you want to get well? His answer is also complicated. He has no one to help him. The bridges are down. The intermediaries have tried. The terrain between the two of them is difficult to navigate without help he does not know how to find. And while he is trying to find the way in, something always goes wrong. The occasion that seemed promising does not open the conversation, the message that was drafted and not sent, the opportunity that was there and that he could not bring himself to take. The mechanism was never what the repair required. Jesus does not wait for the sun to reach out. He does not wait for the shared occasion or the intermediary or the perfect opening. He stands beside the man on the stones and asks the question. And the healing, the first step of the healing, the step that is this man's to take, is the getting up, the reaching out without the mechanism, the message sent without waiting for the sun to send it first, the pick up your mat of the relationship that has been lying at the pool for 3 years. Get up, pick up your mat, and walk toward him. And there is a person lying in the dark tonight who has been waiting to deal with the thing. The thing has a specific name in their specific life. The anxiety that has been managed rather than addressed. The grief that was set aside during the crisis and that has never been fully processed. The pattern that keeps appearing in the relationships and that has been noticed but not examined. The faith question that has been present since the difficult season and that has been quietly avoided because the examining feels too large. They have been meaning to deal with it, have been meaning to deal with it for 2 years or 5 years or a decade. When there is more time, when there is more energy, when they have found the right therapist or the right framework or the right moment, when the circumstances are better positioned for the dealing. They are at the pool. Jesus stands beside them on the stones. Do you want to get well? And the honest answer, if they can find it, is, I am not sure I know how to want it, because the wanting it requires me to acknowledge how long I have been here, and acknowledging how long I have been here means feeling the weight of all the time the mat has carried me instead of me carrying it. The question receives that answer. It always has. The man at Bethesda did not give a clean yes either, and the healing came. Because the question is not looking for the perfect answer. It is looking for the person who is honest enough to let the question land. You are that person. Tonight. Here is what the story of the man at Bethesda does in a life that receives it and keeps returning to it. It teaches the person to hear the question. The question, do you want to get well, is asked to every person in the condition. But most people do not hear it as a question about desire. They hear it as a question about mechanism, and so they answer the mechanism question. They explain the pool, the circumstances that are not right, the help that is not available, the timing that is not there, the someone who always gets there first. The answer is honest. The explanation is real, and the question goes unanswered. The person who returns to this story regularly, who brings the current unresolved condition to the question, who practices hearing the do you want as the question it actually is, develops across the returning the capacity to hear beneath the mechanism explanation to the desire underneath. Not because the mechanism problems disappear, because the question slowly trains the ear to hear what is being asked. Do you want to get well? Not, do you have the right circumstances for the getting well? Not, Have you identified the correct mechanism? Do you want it? The desire, the specific, interior, completely personal wanting of the resolution. The answer to that question is different from the answer to the mechanism question, and the healing responds to the desire question, not the mechanism question. The story also repairs the belief that the mechanism is the obstacle. The person who has been waiting for the right circumstances, the right season, the right help, the right conditions to address the unresolved thing has organized their hope around a mechanism. And the mechanism has been failing. And the failing of the mechanism has been interpreted as evidence that the healing is not available. If the pool is the only way the healing comes, and the pool has not worked, then the healing is not coming. The story says, the healing does not come through the pool. The pool is what the man organized his hope around. The word is what the healing came through. And the word is available in ways the pool is not. The word does not require the right season or the right help or the right circumstances. The word requires only the presence of the one who speaks it and the openness of the person who receives it. Both are present tonight. The one who speaks it is in this room, and the question is the opening. The story also gives the condition its testimony. Pick up your mat. The 38 years are not erased by the healing. They are carried differently into the next chapter. The person who has been in the condition for the duration of their specific 38 years carries the mat of that duration as the evidence of where they have been, not as the definition of where they are. The mat that carried them becomes the mat they carry. The condition that defined the life becomes the testimony of the life. The long unresolved thing that has been organizing the life around it becomes the story of the healing that arrived when the mechanism was bypassed and the word was spoken. Do you want to get well? The question is forming the desire in the asking. The hearing of the question is the beginning of the yes. And now, let everything grow very still. You are in your own room, your own bed, your own dark, and the story has been told, and the pool is beside you, whatever form the pool takes in your specific life. And Jesus is standing on the stones, and the question is being asked, right now, to you, specifically. Do you want to get well? Let the question land. Do not answer it yet. Let it arrive, in the body, in the chest, in the specific place where the unresolved thing lives. The question is not looking for the perfect answer. It is not looking for the clean yes of the person who has resolved all ambivalence about the healing. It is looking for the honest answer of the person who lets the question be what it is. Let it land. Let the 38 years be received. Whatever the duration of the condition in your life, the thing that has been present and unresolved for longer than you planned, the thing the life has been organizing around, without your fully choosing the organization, let the duration be received tonight, not as the evidence that the healing is not coming, as the weight that the question honors. Jesus did not walk past the man who had been there 38 years because the duration was evidence of disqualification. He walked toward him because the 38 years were the evidence that the man had been waiting, and the waiting had a destination. Toward you, tonight, let the I have no one be received. Whatever form the loneliness of the condition takes, the specific, interior, completely personal carrying of the unresolved thing that has finally become yours to carry alone. Let it be received by the someone who does not need the pool, who stands beside you on the stones, who is in this room right now, who has been in this room every night of the condition. You have someone. The someone who rendered the pool unnecessary for the man at Bethesda is the someone who is with you in the condition tonight. I have no one, and someone is here. Let the pool be released. The mechanism you have been waiting for, the right circumstances, the right season, the right help, the right moment, let it go. Not because the pool is not real, because the healing does not come through the pool. The healing comes through the Word, and the Word is available right now, in this room, in this dark, in this specific night, in ways the pool is not, and was not, and will not be. The mechanism was never the obstacle. The desire is the door, and the desire is being formed in you right now by the asking of the question. And let the mat be picked up. The condition that has been carrying you, the 38 years of the mat, the specific weight of the unresolved thing, is becoming the mat you carry. The healing does not erase the duration. It transforms the relationship to it. The person who was carried by the mat picks the mat up and walks. The condition that defined the life becomes the testimony of the life. The pool that was the organizing principle becomes the place you walked away from when the word came. Pick up your mat and walk into the Jerusalem you have been lying at the edge of, into the life that is not organized around the waiting, into the now. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," the invalid replied, "I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred." Then Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your mat and walk." At once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and walked. Sleep now. The question has been asked. The someone is in this room, and the one who stood beside the man on the stones, who asked the question that cut beneath the mechanism, who healed without the pool, who said, "Pick up your mat," who said, "Walk," is here, in this room, on these stones, asking, and the asking is already the healing, beginning tonight.